Joining us now from Dubai is Mathew Mason, who joins us with years of experience, as you mentioned, in multiple regions of the world, working on the subject of billing and billing transformation. But today he's going to be talking to us more about the customer experience. Please join me in welcoming Mathew Mason.
Hey, everyone. Well, I think I'm standing between you and lunch, so I promise I'll make it as long and as boring as possible, okay? We all okay with that? Okay. What I'm going to do is walk you through, hopefully this works. This is a bit of a recap of the presentation, what I'm going to cover. And what I want to do is take on a bit of a journey. I've been here the last couple of years. This is now my third year. And I'll briefly go on the customer experience journey that we've been doing within Do, recap on what's occurred and where we've progressed and where we're going. And then I want to talk a little bit about our strategy for 2014 and some help that I require from you guys in the audience, especially the vendors and the consultancies out there, which we need to work on to achieve our goals. Very quickly, overview of the company. We're a full quad play operator operating out of the UAE, servicing all of the different Emirates. We have all of the fixed and voice services, as well as professional services on the enterprise side. This is our shareholders. This is the different stakeholders we have. 40% the UAE government. We have the Mubadala Group. We also have shares that are traded on the Dubai Stock Exchange. The journey so far. Those of you that saw me a couple of years back might be familiar with this particular diagram. I think I talked about this is the experience for our customers. And you've obviously got our customer trying to get through the maze. And it was more about the customer problem was more about your persistence and knowledge of the organization to get problems solved rather than things working. Then I talked about the experiences that we're having with respect to the misaligned processes, with respect to the silos that we're operating within the organization, no accountabilities, everything very manual. We're very much about acquisition, launch, go, market share. Then I also talked about billing in general and cross-functional, the different processes that need to be done. Where we had gaps, we wanted to look at an end-to-end perspective. We wanted to ensure from a customer perspective, end-to-end, that we had accuracy, that we had timeliness. We talked earlier about the order to bill and ensuring all of those things are in place. Then we also talked about, at the time, I was trying to create a bit of an alignment across the organization. We had multiple departments. You can see the departments there on the right and the left-hand side, setting up key stakeholders within each department, setting up cross-company KPIs to drive performance around the customer experience, around the accuracy. Well, actually, we did it. So what happened in 2010, we had what was called the Customer Excellence Program was launched. And this is what I shared last time I was here. So it was launched to the magnitude I could not believe. This was a program sponsored directly by the CEO. This is the slide from the CEO pack. And he talks specifically about an amazing performance as an organization, market share, revenues, EBITDA, fantastic. But our customer experience was suffering. Therefore, this program was put in place to address, funny enough, systems, process, people, all of the things we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years. Then this was the organization that was set up. So we had the verticals, which were our customer care, sales, IT, the silos within the organization. This program set up these cross-functional domains, which we're going to look at work order management across the organization, trouble ticketing across the organization, billing across the organization, and then there were some supporting functions with respect to delivery, change management, HR from the people aspect and side of things as well. So, and each one of these was headed up by a VP. So we had 6 VPs with a program reporting directly to the CEO for customer experience at Do. So how could we go wrong? Also, a little bit of a breakdown. What also happened, the organization was restructured as well. I think I touched on this last year, where all of the customer-facing parts of the organization were all put into this area called customer operations. Before, they were in sales, they were in IT, they were in the contact center, they were distributed, and everyone was doing their own thing in their own way. It was all consolidated and rationalized. This still holds true today. Actually, we're about to go through another transformation, and we're about to be merged with IT. So IT and customer operations will be within the one division. And our Chief Operating Officer, who is there today, will head this function up. So some more change coming. These were the goals of the program. We had to contain the bleeding, get things under control. We had to transform the organization to be more customer-centric. And obviously, we wanted to focus on being more efficient because we were highly inefficient. These things were achieved, and then the program was abandoned. So, what went wrong? I thought, you know, that's amazing, the sponsorship and the drive and everything getting behind this. There were some things that we learnt from this, and these are some of the learnings from a positive and negative perspective that we had. We did have overall CEO sponsorship, which was amazing. We had the head of, with VPs that were heading up the organizations. We had cherry-picked the very best people from all of the verticals to drive the initiatives, which ensured that we had the right buy-in across all of the different silos to get the right results and outcomes. What slowly happened was these resources were pulled back into their verticals. This program was announced to go long-term. It wasn't going to be a short-term thing. And these people were pulled out. And as a result of these people being pulled out, we had to bring consultants in to replace them. The program was also headed up by a consultant reporting to the CEO as well. What naturally happened was the expert resources within the organization went back. The consultant resources came in. The consultant resources were engaging with the verticals, finding out what they're doing about the problems to fix the problems, and regurgitating back what is being done in the verticals. What ended up, they become a reporting function. So it went from a driving function, a delivery function, an outcome function, bringing everything together, and it ended up just being a reporting function, regurgitating what the verticals were actually doing about it. So what happened was the program was disbanded, but what happened was now these KPIs and these measures were all pushed back into the verticals, but pushed back into the right places with the right accountabilities and right support to make it work, which wasn't working before. We needed a structure to get it there. Now that the understanding of KPIs exists within the organization, the culture has changed within the organization, so now we can get on with the job. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to deep dive into the billing accuracy related. We've got so many KPIs around customer experience, but I'll focus specifically on the billing ones and share with you what we're doing. Here's just sharing, I talked about things going back into the verticals. Now what happens is, and on billing accuracy specifically, I have accountability within Do for billing accuracy. So it's my job to make sure across the organization, it doesn't matter what vertical the problem exists in, I'm accountable for that and I have the KPIs. So what we have an actual regular operations committee. It's at CXO level. Every second week I report at CXO level on how we're progressing and any challenges or any help needed. Also, yeah, just sharing about the KPIs. Here's just an example. These are the KPIs that were with the CEP program. They now became mine. Congratulations, Mathew. These are now yours. And by the way, the 20 resources that used to work on this are now gone because they're all consultants, and I don't get any extra resources. So this is my challenge. Here's some other things and some other KPIs we're working on at the moment. You can look at this sort of offline in your own time, but it's just some visibility of some of the things that we are measuring at Do around the accuracy and the integrity of billing. Specifically, I'm going to go into accuracy, bill accuracy. I picked this one because it's an interesting one, because how many organizations can measure billing accuracy? And I'm going to share with you what we do to measure billing accuracy. When we have our billing process, this is just a diagrammatic view to show and represent what we call the simulation bill run and the production bill run. And what we do, we measure each of the things that are discovered at the simulation side, the production side, and then we also measure the trouble tickets that go out the door. So this is sort of a diagrammatic view of bill accuracy. And what you see is we have dimensions of accuracy are system-related problems. They are often people and process-related gaps because people make mistakes in hierarchies, setting up the products in the wrong way. And then you have actual build design and layout gaps. And this also comes down to even customers' perception of the bill, which also for me is an accuracy problem. Even though it's a perception problem, I need to work on the perception with the design and the ease and the readability of the bill. So what we have is when we look at system issues, we're looking at what we capture in the simulation proactively before it goes out the door. And then we also look at the trouble ticketing, which you see on the other side. So what we ended up with, and what this is on the right-hand side, is a representation of the KPIs related to accuracy and the departments. So what you see is when it comes to proactivity and detecting problems on the bill, IT, I'm accountable, I find it, but IT have to fix it and reduce the volume. If it goes out the door and I let that bill go out the door and it's wrong, and trouble tickets are raised by customers, that's my gap, and I've got to fix that gap to make sure that that doesn't go out again. And then we've got some of the things related to the processes. Here's what we measure. This is actually what I represent and show to the operations committee every second week. This is our KPIs showing the bills at a simulation and at a production, and it's the percentage of bills and the number of bills. So what I'm showing, we talked earlier about RA and creating visibility, about how do you show the value of things that never impacted a customer. This is how we show the value. This actually, if you wanted to translate this would be number of trouble tickets raised by customers if we let it out the door. So this is what we proactively detect and fix before the bill goes out the door. And we obviously have the detail and the breakdown. We also do what we call a heat map. So we've got the various initiatives that we're working on to fix and address these problems at the root cause. We put things in the order of the actual value from a customer perspective, and then we get into the impact and how quickly and how complex the problem is. So obviously we're focusing on the quick wins, and then also we're working on the strategic stuff as well. It also shows the representation of the progress and how we're going, but this is more of a heat map. Then we get into the initiatives, and we show the initiatives that we're working on. This is actually about repeat issues. So what I'm showing here is this is the issues, that's by June, July, August. The little circle is the number of customers. First one is the issue. That's the number of customers that were impacted in June, July, and August for the same issue that is still not fixed. So IT love me. They absolutely love me. I go and bring this in front of our C-level every second week, and the CIO is there as well. So it's often a fun session. Then, as when things are fixed, we keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't repeat as well. So this is how we track this type of things. Then also one of the things we do is, obviously it goes out the door, a TT's raised because a customer's found something that's wrong, and it's a genuine system-related error. We track every one of these, we look at them, we put them in a heat map as well, and we have initiatives. And what we're doing here is showing the things that were missed in QA but went out the door. And what I want to do is make sure that I capture that thing next time in the proactive detection and it doesn't go out again. So we've just started to do this, and this was two particular issues to do with the broadband speed upgrade, was a package problem with the release that wasn't tested, and there was another thing related to some of the abandoned work orders. There was a configuration change in the system, and all of a sudden we had some 700 customers that were charged for work orders that were supposed to be abandoned and not charged. So these were things that were missed. Customer Delight Program was the other thing we've started up. So not only do we have the KPIs around accuracy, but we've got a billing delight program. It's a little bit different. The focus of the program is primarily around these domains, so it's a more broader perspective, looking across everything, including bill design and layout. And I just wanted to share with you some of the initiatives and things we're looking at from next steps. We've got videos explaining to customers how to read their bill. We're looking at solutions around this as well, not only a static, but I want to get to a dynamic. I know AT&T shared with us last year a very, very impressive presentation that had similar sort of capabilities. Also emailing, detailing product and activation changes, informing that customer if they ordered product A, we'll reconfirm and send them an email, letting them, is this right? Is this your expectation? Is this your expectation of charging proactively in advance to make sure that the communication is clear? Same with SMSs, with any things that change within the systems or platforms from a billing perspective to proactively let customers know about these things. Also, we've got positive language is another thing that we're trying to do within the contact center as well. So we talk about when we interact with customers saying, yes, I can, or I can do this, rather than I cannot. And just simple things like that, and the way you communicate with customers, this is changing the culture within the contact centers and the way we communicate. The other thing was also soft bill delivery. We had a lot of bill delivery issues. We have PO boxes in Dubai. We don't have street names and numbers and addresses like most parts of the world. PO boxes presents its own problem with delivery, so we're having to do courier and moving very rapidly to electronic deployment with everything. Shifting first contact resolution to next issue avoidance. This is another really, really big topic. We are looking for tools and things where we can proactively detect and find problems before a customer knows they have a problem. Specifically around accuracy and integrity of the products before we run and execute the bill cycles as well. Try and avoid before it actually impacts the customer. Just want to talk very quickly about the strategy. We have something called Do 14. And this is where we're supposed to head by 2014. So we've got some very aggressive targets. We want a 14 billion in revenue, so we want to more than double our revenue within 2 years. We've got a 45% EBITDA, and this all needs to be done by 2014. So what's the strategy around that? Predominantly it's around these key focus areas. And within these focus areas, we've got the key domains, which the 7 of them here. And what I'll just briefly do is just go into the different components of this. First thing is predominantly around segmentation. We've discovered, obviously, from a cost and efficiency perspective, if we need to hit those aggressive margins with respect to profits, we need to have a very segmented approach with our customers. So we're going to make sure that our very high-value customers are serviced very well and extensively, and our very low-value customers are pushed to more online-related channels and more automated, less interaction with the contact centers, less cost to operate and interact with. So this is a key strategy for us. The other thing is the multi-channel consistency. We've got many different channels, and it is amazing how we communicate in those different channels inconsistently. We might say one thing in a shop, we're saying another thing in a contact center, and we've got different information on our self-care and different information on our websites, and then there's social media and communication around that. So consistency across all channels, and we're looking for tools to help us do this. Multi-channel strategy is an interesting little analogy here. Just the world's changing. It's not about that individual and who that person is and their net worth. It's about their interactions in the social media and the social networking arena and how many friends they have and how many friends they influence. So this is a big step for us, heading into all of the different channels, understanding the communications and communicating back to our customer via that same channel that they like to work and operate in as well. Enhancement, redesign, just this is about efficiency. Redesigning, you can see here some of our things, our total IVR strategy. Our IVR is quite scary actually. It's quite surprising when you go into these things and you go through the menus and it makes you wonder how they get the way they get. And a lot of opportunity there, self-care, pushing everything online, getting everybody to use the self-care environment because it's going to be friendly and it works. And obviously for us, it's a great cost reduction initiative. Triplets and things within our Siebel platform. Knowledge, very key for us. We talked about multi-channel consistency. The knowledge and the information we share with our agents, we share with our customers across all channels. We need to make sure that it's spot on, it's correct, it's accurate, and we're consistent. So that'll also be a big focus. And problem resolution. Obviously, we need to get to the root cause of the problem. So I shared with you some of the things we're doing around accuracy, but there's many, many different streams across the whole gamut. Every single trouble ticket that customers are raising, we're breaking down, analysing, programs of work, dedicated teams working on issue resolution and root cause. Talked about the different channels, and this is very much a picture of what we have today. We've got all these channels, and we've got all of our different departments interacting with all these different channels, managing these different channels in all sorts of different ways. And what we want to do is get absolute consistency. So this is the vision. We want consistency. We want to ensure the customer is the center, the consistency of the communication and the way we interact with that customer, and actively actually looking for tools right now in ways that we can set things up from a business rules-based engine that will actually listen and understand from the different channels what the customer's saying, things that are taking voice calls from our contact center, turning that to text, automatically picking up on keywords, flagging that a customer's angry or aggravated, that we can take proactive action in advance. The typical stuff with the social media as well, starting to really get into that, understand what our customers are saying and automatically reply back to them via that same channel and via that same media. So coming back, just recapping, there's a few more things. Obviously with Prosector, we've got a very high concentration and focus on performance metrics. I think you'll see that I talked very early about KPIs across the organization, getting with silos, key accountabilities across the organization. So we're making sure we've got the right metrics, the right sources, and all those sorts of things. Obviously the standards, we want decision-making, voice of the customer, insights, and getting the right information at the right time. Partners, this is another big change for us. We have been pushing things out very aggressively, outsourcing, outsourcing, outsourcing. I have an RFP right now going out for a full managed service end-to-end for collections. We talked earlier about outcome-based commercial agreements. This is exactly what we're doing for collections. Don't care how you do it, why you do it, I want the outcome. The outcome is around quality, it's around customer centricity, and it's ultimately about reduction of bad debt. So we've got the same thing with our contact centers. They're all commercial-based, outcome-based models is what we're moving to, and very big on managed services across the board. IT is going through the same thing, sales is going through the same thing, customer operations. Just recapping the different areas, they were the areas that we covered, but more importantly, this is where I need your help. So what I'm just going to share with you here are some of the things that we're looking for from a tool set perspective. So you'll see that centralized tools enabling consistent communication across the channels, which I talked about, that cross-channel strategy consistency. I'm very open to if we've got vendors that are out there that think they have solutions that can help address these types of things. I'd like to hear from you. And we're actively got an RFI going on at the moment for exactly these tools right now. We've actually started the sessions last couple of weeks. Also, we've got RFPs. I talked about collections, the back office. We've recently, Hawaii have been awarded a contract for some of the back office functions, and we're progressively going through collections right now. Then we'll also move into billing operations. So interested in software as a service or billing as a service is something that's of interest to me from an operations perspective. We can get the operations and the running of the billing operations outsourced. That's a plus. Tools to monitor and act. Customer, this is the proactive stuff. So I talked about that earlier, knowing in advance, avoiding customer problems in interactions. Started to look at tools that are out there that can monitor this stuff. We've got probes and things on the network, going into analytics, going into business-based, rules-based engines that can take action. So interested in anything around that domain. Also, well, that one's very hard to read. That's knowledge transfer. So also consistency of knowledge across the different channels, knowledge-based management, the updating of that, the maintaining of that in a consistent way across the organization is also very important. And last but not least, tools to monitor and track the customer behaviors and interactions across all of the different channels. Coming back again to that customer centricity, knowing what they're up to, knowing what they're saying, knowing what their needs are, and addressing and working on that. And that was it.
Great, thank you so very much. That was
you.
Really content-rich. Let's take one question, if we may, just to put Matthew on the hot spot.
It's the opposite. Actually, I have 3 questions. I'm sorry.
You can only have one.
I'm going to amalgamate them into one. High-valued customers, do you differentiate them? Do you do something specific for them?
So your question was
high-valued customers within your organization.
Yes.
Do you do something special for them?
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yeah. So what we're trying to, we actually have high-value customer. There's a segment where they spend over a certain threshold of money. What we're doing at the moment within the contact center, as an example, they are getting a very specific queue and different routing. So the segmentation is done internally within the systems. When they come through the queues, we automatically identify what segment they are, and they automatically get routed to a different queue, and they're also, the calls are picked up by more experienced agents. Same thing with trouble ticketing as an example. When we get into the resolution of the trouble ticket, we have a 7-day SLA for everybody else. For the high-value customers, we have a 2-day SLA. We don't share that, but internally we have that, we work that, and we drive to that. When we consistently execute and do that, then we'll share it. but this is where we're going to. So from a service perspective, they will get a differentiated priority service.
And do you segment solely on their spend with you, or are there other attributes?
There are other attributes,
okay.
Definitely other attributes, yeah.
Okay.
Great, and from a productivity tools perspective, so I know knowledge management, you're investing a lot. What about like agent productivity, workforce management, scheduling? What about customer feedback, links to agent and others? Anything in there?
Yes. Yeah, so we definitely, we have these tools today. Workforce management, we have distributed contact centers in Egypt, we have them in India, we also have them in Jordan. So most of our calls actually are not dealt with in Dubai. They're routed all over the world, and they're dealt with, and we have some definite challenges to make sure that we've got the volumes going to the right places. Yes, the efficiency, scorecard, individual agent performance, it varies in the organization. I can tell you I've definitely got an individual scorecard at an individual agent level for collections, and I know at a drop of a hat how any agent's performing at any point in time. Do we have that in the contact center? Not yet. It's done in a fairly manual way today with spreadsheets, but we need to get to that, and we need to do that to be able to monitor and manage our partners. Because at the end of the day, we're pushing it all out, we're outsourcing it. So when you outsource, you still need control, and you still take accountability for the outcomes. So at the end of the day, you're a head of function. Yes, the majority of everything is outsourced, but I'm still accountable. So if it goes down and it doesn't work, it's my head, and I've got to make sure I've got the controls and things are in place. So yes.
Great work.
Aggressive and work-filled agenda at your company. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today. Mathew Mason.
Thank you.